Hi everyone, this is Hiba from My Little Journal, and today I'm going to be setting up my daily journal for September 2022. And I'm going to start like I do every single month. I'm going to use one of my Passion Planner tabs to add to the month. And once I add that, we're going to start stamping. So as always, I'm going to be using my Studio Calico Tucker Alpha stamps to stamp out September. This month, I'm focused on using my Close to My Heart stamp sets. I work pretty closely with Beth. She's a consultant for Close to My Heart. And I have loads of beautiful stamp sets that I never get to use throughout the month. So I decided to focus on using them as much as possible to set up my pages. So you're going to see a lot of Close to My Heart stamp sets. But anyways, let's get back to creating. I'm going to stamp out September, and then I'm going to use a Close to My Heart stamp set. This stamp set is so beautiful. I felt like it had that September vibe. So I'm going to use it to create kind of like a scenery around my September. And I start with this adorable mountain. By the way, I always forget the names of the stamp sets, but I have them always linked in the description box for you. So I'm going to be using different colors to stamp these stamps out. I wanted to bring in like a neutral vibe, and I also wanted to kind of make things pop. So I'm going to bring in some neutrals with a pop of black ink. I'm also going to be masking a lot on my spreads today. And so to help me mask things off, I've been using this masking tape from scrapbook.com. It is low tack, so it's not tacky. And it's easy to remove, easier than washi tape. I usually use washi tape or a piece of paper, but because I did a lot of masking this month, I decided to use my scrapbook.com masking tape. But anyways, let's keep going. I'm going to be stamping some trees, the deer as well in the corner. I wish the deer was a tidbit smaller, but it still worked. I'm going to create a little cluster in that corner. I'm going to create a cluster around my R and E just to kind of balance things out. Usually I just go back and forth between clusters to make sure things are balanced. I always recommend this. Don't stamp everything all at once. Take it one step at a time, start in one spot, go to the next, and kind of build off each cluster. Because if you stamp everything all at once and you don't like how heavy one side is, you can't remove your stamping. So definitely go slow. And I always start with my light colors and kind of build from there. And then I'll bring in my black to finish off the clusters. Now, one thing I love about the stamp set that there's these little triangles. I think there was like waves, I guess for the clouds, and some dots and little clusters of lines. It has these little stamps that you can add around your clusters. So I made sure to use them as much as possible just to add little tidbits of black ink here and there as well. I also loved that the stamps helped me break down all the nature from my layout, if that makes sense. So I was able to bring in a little bit of contemporary feel to it, and it doesn't look too nature-like. So I made sure to use them around my clusters to break down all that nature and bring in a different feel to my spread. Okay, I'm almost done with my layout. I'm just going to add a drop shadow to my September. I will also add my border around my page, add a bit of washi tape to the opposite corner of my stamping, again, to balance things out. And I think I call this done, and we can move on to our first week of September. Okay, so for my first week of September, it starts on a Thursday, and I'm going to use these large alpha stamps from Close to My Heart. I believe it's called Pattern Block Alphas. And I'm going to basically just stamp one letter to represent the day. Now, for Saturday and Sunday, what I decide to do is to flip over or flip around my S. That way it looks a little bit different. It kind of looks odd, but it still works. And I just really like how Saturday stood out and, it didn't look exactly like Sunday. So at this point, I'm just going to turn around my S and stamp that the opposite way. And it worked, and I can start decorating. I'm going to use also another Close to My Heart stamp set. Like I said, there's a lot of Close to My Heart stamp sets here. And this one I believe is called Sprigs and Sentiments, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm going to use the leaves to stamp across each day of the week. I do use my masking tape again, and I just add it where I need it. And I stamp, and it works out every single time. This is why I love this masking tape. I do not throw away my masking tape. I just keep using it over and over again. So really a roll goes a long way. Now that I'm done stamping my leaves, I'm going to grab the stamp set from Everyday Explorers to stamp 1 through 4. I love the number stamp, this number stamp, because it's small enough to fit in small places. And I knew I didn't want to add a large number just because my days of the week were pretty large. Usually start my weeks by stamping the calendar, but this month I decided to change it up a little bit and stamp everything I need before I stamp the calendar. And if I need to kind of squeeze it in a certain spot, I can stamp it on some craft paper. But I did want to mention that when I was stamping the calendar, it was a fail because I noticed later that I was stamping it starting on a Sunday and I start my weeks on a Monday. So I had to change that up. I end up just grabbing some craft paper, restamping this to cover up my little boo-boo. I could have totally done this off camera and saved myself some time. But anyways, it happens. Sometimes you stamp things out and it's the wrong thing, and you can definitely cover it up with some craft paper or regular paper. I also wanted to bring in some color to my spread, so I'm going with this beautiful washi tape from Stationery Pal. It's a beautiful green, and I end up trimming off the bottom portion, but I didn't want to waste it. So what I decided to do is actually add it to my days of the week, and that way I bring in that green to the top of my page. I don't waste any washi tape, and it looks really cool. I really love how that turned out. That was like a last minute kind of thing, and I'm so happy I decided to do it because that green is just beautiful and it really makes the page what it is. Now that I have all of that done, I can add my lines in my boxes. I will also color in the leaves around the days of the week. And because I used like really subtle neutral colors, I end up using like mustard yellow as always, and some tan markers to fill in my leaves. I decide to bring in those colors into my spread. I felt like it was very green at this point, and the only color that wasn't green was at the top. I needed to balance it out a little bit. So I end up grabbing that first stamp set that I used for my September title page, and I'm gonna use those little stamps that I talked about earlier with the waves, and there was dots, clusters of dots and lines. I'm gonna actually use those to stamp in between my boxes, and it's gonna bring in some color to that space. I also will use my stickers from the Passion Planner, and I'm going to add a little sticker around my calendar just to create a little cluster there. And as you guys saw, I added my gray lines to my boxes. And then I call this week done, and we can move on to week 2 of September. So this next spread is a total scrap lift. So my friend Tammy, who is also a member of my YouTube channel, so she's a peach and she's awesome and very creative. She shared with us in our last Peach Zoom meetup how she created her weekly spread and her daily journal. And I loved it. She used the stamp set from the Paper Person shop. I believe it's the gamer stamp, and it had the little Mario mushroom, and she had it for each day and then kind of stamped out the day of the week and the date. And I thought it was genius. She even created these lines on the side where she stamped out some of the stamps to create like a gaming theme. And I loved it, and I'm totally scrap lifting it. So this is to you, Tammy. Thank you so much for sharing your spread with us. And I'm gonna literally just stamp the mushroom for each day. I'm using this block day stamp from Paper Person Shop. I'm going to stamp Monday through Sunday. I'm sticking to green because the mushroom is going to be a green mushroom for level up for Mario. And then I'm going to use the stamp to also add a little something in that empty box right there. I end up stamping the Switch remote, and I'm going to stamp right underneath it, Gamer Girl, and I'm going to stamp my calendar as well. So I'm kind of creating a little space there. Maybe I can use it for a to-do list or something like that. But anyways, I am already hyped and loving this spread just by stamping all that green. And you're going to notice throughout this month, I used a lot of green, which is very rare. Anyways, once I stamp that out, I am going to create those 2 bars around my days of the week. I want to use the stamp set as much as possible. I want to create kind of like my own washi tape. So I grab my masking tape and I'm going to mask off the sides. I also did want to give you this little tip. Because the masking tape is pretty thick, you have a lot of space there. So don't waste it. Trim it in half and use it for both sides. And like I said earlier, you don't have to throw this away once you use it. Just keep it in on your desk or in your craft room, and you can reuse it over and over again. You don't lose that tackiness. Anyways, once I mask off my boxes, I'm going to start stamping. I'm just going to have fun with this. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I'm stamping a bunch of different types of gamer stamps. I think I used Paper Person Shop and also one from Studio Calico, which as always, I'll link in the description box for you. But once I'm done stamping, I'm basically going to grab my markers and fill in the stamps, and it's going to bring in this beautiful subtle color to my spread because I'm sticking to neutral colors, just stamping stars in like tan color ink and coloring in my stamps with this green marker and gray marker makes a huge difference. And I just love how the spread turned out. And you're going to see once I remove the masking tape, it's all going to make sense. And right now it kind of looks like a big mess because the masking tape is there. But once I remove the masking tape and add my lines to create my boxes, it's going to look great. Okay, so now for the big reveal, I'm going to remove my masking tape and it looks awesome and great. All I'm going to do now is grab my pen and add the lines around my stamping and around my days of the week. Once I add my lines, I can start coloring things in. Now, I always recommend this. When coloring, don't overthink it. Just have fun. It is just a journal. And no matter what you do, it's still going to look great. Your coloring doesn't have to be perfect. So just go for it and have fun. Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and color in my stamped images. I will also color in that little switch remote that I stamped above my calendar. I think I'm going to add some gray lines to my boxes if I'm not mistaken. And then I call this layout done. And it's as simple as that. If you don't have the right washi to add to your layout, you can definitely create your own with your stamps. So keep that in mind. And obviously, you can save yourself some time and just add washi if you wanted to. But I think this stands out and it's more unique. And I love how it turned out. Okay, I'm going to finish up week 2 by adding the dates to my weekdays, and then we can move on to week 3, where I'm going to be using this days of the week stamp set from Studio Calico to stamp out Monday through Sunday. And I really wanted to create, I don't know, like a floral theme. I haven't used my floral stamps for a long time, and I had this beautiful floral stamp set from Close to My Heart that I thought would work really well. So once I'm done stamping the days of the week, I'm going to add my lines, and then I'm going to create these little boxes in the corners of my spread. Now, one thing I wish I had done ahead of time was kind of think about it for a little bit, because I could have saved myself a lot of time when I was stamping and created those boxes ahead of time. But I thought of it last minute. So I end up just creating one box at a time, and that's okay. But definitely, if you plan this out, add all the masking tape you need to create your boxes. So you just have your stamps out once and get it all done all at once. So as you can see, I'm doing the same thing. I masked off my box. I'm trying to fill out every little spot with a flower. And this stamp set is also from Close to My Heart, and it's called Doodled Flowers. Once I'm done stamping and filling out my box, I decide I'm going to do one on the bottom, and then I decide I'm going to do one for my calendar. So this is what I mean when I say if you plan this out earlier, you basically can just have one stamp out and stamp it in every single box and recreate the boxes if you wanted to. But I didn't think of that, so it took me a little bit longer. I'm not going to bore you to death and let you watch me stamp every single box out. So I'm going to edit some of this out. And by the time I'm done, we're going to go ahead and color these flowers in, and it's going to look beautiful. Oh my gosh, you guys, I think this is a favorite layout. It's been a while since I've used my floral stamps, so being able to use all my Close to My Heart stamps on these spreads has really made my day and reminded me how much I love my Close to My Heart stamps and that I need to be using them more often. But anyways, I'm moving on to my third box here. I'm going to fill that out. This one comes together pretty quickly just because the box is smaller and I already stamped the calendar in the corner. So once I finish that up, we can start coloring in our flowers. Okay, the masking tape is off. Now I can add my lines to my days of the week and my boxes, and then we can start coloring in all the flowers. This is usually my favorite part, is just coloring it in, just because it's very soothing. I know a lot of people ask me, doesn't it take forever to stamp all these things out and use your stamps to clean your stamps? Honestly, I say this all the time. Yeah, it does take time, but I never do my whole month all at the same time, so I don't get fed up and bored. I do it over a few days, and it's really relaxing to me. I love stamping. I think if you are not a stamper and you try it out, you will love it as well. It's just a simple technique, especially if you're not an artist and you don't know how to draw and you have beautiful stamps. Why not use them in something like this to create fun spreads for your journals, your planners, and your projects? I want to add a little bit of color to my days of the week. So I just go over my headers with this beautiful brown Tombow marker. And then I'm going to be stamping the dates using this Everyday Explorers number stamp to stamp 12 through 18. I will also grab my gray Tombow marker to add the lines for each day. And then I'm going to call this spread done. Okay, so we are done. Let's move on to week 4. I'm going to use this farm stamp to stamp out all the farm animals. I think it's an adorable stamp set. I haven't been able to use the whole stamp set yet, so I thought this was a great spot to use it. And I'm going to end up stamping the farm animals across my page. Now for Saturday and Sunday, I did half my column so it would fit. But I'm going to end up stamping like the cow, the pig, the horse. They're just so cute. And once I color them in, they'll even look cuter. But I'm going to go ahead and stamp those. I will use an old Feature Craft Days of the Week stamp set to stamp right underneath each animal. Okay, so now I'm done stamping my animals. I'm just going to use my pen to add the dates. I end up adding the dates inside each animal. I thought it was cute. I will also stamp out my calendar. I wanted to stamp out the calendar in the corner before I added the lines for my boxes because I wasn't sure where it's going to sit, and I end up just stamping it right underneath Monday. And I wanted to mention that this calendar stamp set is a new version. I used to use my really old calendar stamp set from Kelly Perky, but this one's from Everyday Explorers and it's a newer version. Really liking it, and I've been using it nonstop since I got it. But anyways, I'm done. I'm going to go ahead and add my lines. And while I was adding my lines, I noticed that there were grass stamps in that farm stamp. And I thought it would be cute to add little stamped grass around the days of the week and around my animals. And it will bring in some green to my spread. So once I'm done adding my boxes, I'm going to go back to that stamp set and use the little grass stamps to add around my days of the week. So I'm almost done with week 4. Once I'm done stamping my grass, I'm going to grab my markers and color in my animals. I really had fun coloring them in. Like I said earlier, I'm not really good at coloring, but I love coloring. So I just have fun. Some of the animals really look good, some not so great, but it worked out and it really added a lot of color to my spread. Once I'm done coloring in my animals, I will grab my gray marker, add my lines to my boxes, and call my spread done. So the last week of September starts on a Monday and ends on a Friday. So I have a lot of space to play here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this stamp set from Close to My Heart. It's cactuses, succulents. So I'm going to use them to stamp for each day. And then I'm going to grab a Studio Calico stamp set. It's the days of the week to stamp Monday through Friday underneath each succulent. And I will stamp the dates as well using an Everyday Explorer stamp set. Once I do that, I'm going to color them in. As always, I use my Tombows and my Crayola Super Tips, and I'll even use my white acrylograph pen from Archer and Olive just to make the succulents pop. I felt like the colors blended in together too much, especially that I was trying to add different shades of green to each succulent. So that white Archer and Olive pen really helped add a pop and break down all the shading, if that makes sense. So once I do that, I'm thinking I'm done. But I felt like right underneath Friday, there was a lot of space because as you can see, Thursday's at the top and I have a lot of space to journal. Friday, I have loads of space to journal, but then underneath Friday, it was just pretty empty and it looked bare. So what I thought I would do is do the masking thing again and create a box where it will have my calendar, kind of like a washi tape look to it or feel, and it will fill out that space. So I end up grabbing my masking tape again, creating a box around my calendar, and filling that out with some succulents as well. By the way, my favorite part is removing the masking tape. It's so satisfying, especially when it looks really good. But anyways, I'm going to grab my markers now and color in my succulents. This time around, I'm going with dark greens, browns, grays, just to change it up a little bit, but kind of stick to the same theme of neutral colors throughout my spreads. Anyways, you guys, I am done. I'm going to do a quick flip through for you. I love how these spreads turned out. I hope you did too and got inspired. And as always, I will be linking everything I used down in the description box for you. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. And I hope to see you guys very soon. Bye.